Good afternoon. I hope everybody's Saturday is going well. I'm gonna wait a couple more minutes. We'll get going here. I'm still working on the log cabin hexagon. I'm not sure. I don't remember if it's called log cabin hexagon or hexagon log. It must be log cabin hexagon. Working on this. This is from working from the stash that we've organized. I'll kind of review for those who can't watch during the week, who didn't catch our method for organizing our stash. First of all, I start with, over a period of time, as I'm cutting fabric kits or cutting for a quilt or whatever I'm doing. I'll just grab a handful. I have, where I cut all my fabrics, I have a laundry hamper, a foldable laundry hamper. And so that when I cut for a quilt, scraps, anything larger than 1.5 by 1.5 I do keep. Probably should have my head examined for that. But sometimes there'll be the end of a bolt, or when you're done cutting for the whole quilt, you'll have maybe, I don't know, 12, 15 inches of fabric left. And I just dump those in that laundry hamper. And then when it gets full, I take it in the room where I have all my drawers of fabric sorted by color. And I, separate it into the proper drawers. And then when the drawers start to get full, it's time to break it down a little more. I will go through, if there's anything that I can get a fat quarter out of, I will cut a fat quarter, fold it. I have a small bin where I keep my fat quarters by color, and I'll have to give you a list of the number of colors that I do. But anyway, if it's more than a fat quarter, I fold it and I put it back in the bin. If it's like over 1/2 yard or more, I will fold it and keep it as yardage. I'll note it as yardage. And then anything under a fat quarter, I take and I'll cut 6-inch squares. Let me put this away. These are my blues that I did the other day on the first show. I cut 6-inch squares. They work really well in most of my scrappy quilts. My pineapple quilts, I can use them for either the center. They're a little large for the center, but I'd rather have it too big than too small. Or cut it diagonally for the corners of the pineapple blocks. There's, a lot of them that I can use the 6-inch squares from. And then the rest of the fabric, I cut into strips at 1 3/4 inches. And that's what this drawer, I have a much bigger drawer that the strips go in. But when I'm out here cutting, I use a small little bin. Then I just go, I don't organize it any more than that. And if I have leftover jelly rolls, I don't cut them down. I put them in here also. And if I cut a strip and there's enough fabric left over that it's going to be more than 1 3/4, but less than 2.5, whatever, I don't cut them all a perfect 1 3/4. But 1 3/4 inches works really well in all my pineapple, all the different size pineapple blocks that we have, the diagonal stripe blocks, the log cabin blocks. I'm trying to think what else. So I've been working on purples, but I want to show you a few projects that I use these on. This is a 5-inch diagonal stripe block, and on these I did the 4 pieces on one side in the color and 4 strips in the neutral. You could use a solid corner piece here if you wanted. Laura has one I started of these blocks, and I did one color here, neutrals here, and then I'd take 4 the same and put them together to make, like, this square would be all the same color group, and then there'd be a square of all neutrals, and then a different color group, and so on. And she's waiting for me. She's got all the color parts done on half of all the blocks. She's waiting for me to send her more neutrals. But before I can send her more neutrals, I am working on a wedding quilt made up of neutrals. This is our 8-inch diagonal stripe block. So my point to all this is I have the bin or the drawer with all the stripes, and when I'm going to work on a project, I'll just bring the color I need. I'll bring it out, set it here on my cutting table or where I'm sewing, and just pull from the bin to make these or whatever it is I'm working on. So that's how, and I just found a fabulous surprise this morning. I have done that with a lot of my batiks that I did not realize I had done. So I have drawers with batik strips already cut, ready to go. So that makes me real excited. Anyway, I'm working on this project. A couple others just to show you. This is from Batiks. This is a little 3 pineapple block, 3 pineapple blocks sewn together with a little border, very little border around the outside edge. Makes a great table runner. Great thing to do with scraps. Don't throw those scraps away. I had a group from my guild over one night, and they came down to check out what was going on in the studio, and a friend looked down and said, "Debbie, those are awfully large scraps in your trash bin." So it made me feel very guilty. So now I keep my scraps anything bigger than 1.5 inches. And I just did this one, pulled a bunch of green batik strips. I know there's another end there. And this is what we did from that. So now another one that we can do is I am working on the log cabin hexagon. I got 3 blocks made on the show the other day. I have 4 more to go. I am almost done with the 4th one. And it's coming out prettier than I expected. So, and this is just a single block that I did and put the binding on. This one I fussy cut the center, and then each row around I did in a different color, just something different from some scraps I had left over from a quilt. But it makes a nice mug mat or a pot holder. I would put another layer of batting in it, make it a little less, a little more heat resistant to your hand. But yep, you could do that. Anyway, I'm going to finish this one up, and then I want to show you, I've been working on a log cabin off and on. It's kind of one of those, I have taken it to quilt shows to demo with, and it's made from like reproduction fabrics, Kansas Trouble, leftover fabrics from Kansas Trouble, and I think it makes the only way I can describe it is, reminds me of grandma. A real comfortable, homey looking quilt. So let me finish this block. And if you're not familiar with our product, we work with this leave-in foundation. You can see through it. So it makes it really easy to work with, lightweight. It does not add any weight or bulk to your quilt. It comes pre-printed, although we do sell it pre-shrunk and blank. One of these shows, I will show you guys how I use it when I'm going to just do like 1 or 2 blocks to a quilt and don't want to go through the whole rigmarole of printing or run it through my printer. It's real easy to do. And anyway, so I'm going to finish this one for you. It's a 3-step process. I don't if you've ever paper pieced. It's the same process as traditional paper piecing. You're just going to follow the numbers on the foundation. You work on the right side of the foundation. I can read all the printing on the foundation on this side, and I'm looking through to the wrong side of my fabrics. Whoops. And if you know me, you know I hate threads. So I have sewn this morning. I have sewn on 18 is the last one I sewed on. You can tell which one's the last one just by looking at your rows of stitching, and if there's another line of stitching that crosses it, keep going until there's nothing crossing this one. So that means I'm on 19. And I have my little, I pulled strips from the big strip bin. I pulled a bunch of different ones, and I kind of pressed them last night so they're not so wrinkled when I pull them out. I don't usually do that, but I had a little time to kill. So how's everybody's weekend going so far? We got up this morning and had actually we have 6 piles of trimmings from this past year or two. I don't think we burned any last year. So yesterday Bob went out and drove the tractor a little bit and kind of moved them into small piles. So this morning he and I went out and we got up early, and it's almost feel accomplished getting that done already. So I call stitching step number 1. So we stitch it, and then we're going to take it to the ironing mat, and I like to set those stitches. When you set your stitches like that, you actually make the thread, it kind of melds into, it doesn't melt, it melds or sinks into the fibers of your fabric. So when you open like that, you get a flatter seam. So it makes it look even nicer. Okay. 18, 19, 20 is right here. And it just goes around. This is a log cabin, so it just goes around. And then I try not to duplicate my fabrics in these. It's a little game I play with myself. You can do it any way you want. There are no quilt police, so they say. Although I like to say I'm married to the police captain. He doesn't criticize, he critiques all of my projects, just wants to get his 2 cents in. And sometimes I see his point, but we're very opposite in what we like. artist. I'm the one that wants things offset or some interest to it, and he likes everything concentric. I think that's what the word is. I'm not sure. But he likes everything even, all matchy, and I'm sometimes there's a time and a place for that on every, in anything. But okay, that was 20. 21 is here. So sometimes we discuss. He always leaves it up to me, but he does give me his opinion, and it's helpful. Really, he's never critical. He never tells me it's wrong or that I didn't do a good job. He just likes to give me his opinion. Cut this off. I think there's enough for a little piece in the middle of another one. So I think I told you the other day, I'm not sure what size I'm going to make this. I'm thinking that if I do another full round, it'll be too big for my table. And if I think I'm just going to stick with a pattern and just do the 7 plus the fillers. And that should, and this all started because I picked a bouquet of dark purple irises for my table. And I wanted a pretty table topper to go under the vase. And I was showing how to do this scrap system, so I just grabbed the purples and decided to make one. Now I've started on a jacket, and we're going to be doing that in a couple of weeks. And the first one that we're gonna work on is, I'm using, I know a lot of quilters aren't seamstresses or don't like to do clothing, and I totally get it, although that's where I started, was clothing design. And so we're gonna start with a sweatshirt as our basis. And we start with a slip over, and you want to buy it in a size larger than what you normally wear. And we're going to partially deconstruct it, and then we're going to build our fabric and then reconstruct it. And it's really very simple. But I thought more of you would enjoy doing something like that if you aren't into making clothing. And then we may graduate from there. And eventually I'll get you doing clothing from the start. I already got that one in there. And instead of pre-cutting these all to a specific length, I'm just cutting them as I go. Don't need to take a lot of time. This is scrap quilting. But boy, can your scraps make some gorgeous quilts. And I've been working on a couple of the hexy projects that we worked on, started last week. And as I get them done or they progress, I will share them with you. Number 24, 25 on one of these blocks, so we're almost there. And let's see what would look good here. Oh, how about this one? Oh, yuck. So step number 1 is stitching, step number 2 is pressing, and step number 3 is trimming it down for the next piece down to the 1/4 inch using the straight edge, the add a quarter ruler, and the rotary cutter. The add a quarter ruler is the only tool you need to make any of these quilts. And you don't absolutely have to have it, but boy, do I recommend it. And so do most all of my students. I always have 1 or 2 that come to class and say they don't need it, and usually end up getting one before class is over because they see how easy it makes it. Okay, this is number 25, my favorite piece, the last one. So you're going to line your straight edge up with the stitching line where you're going to add your next piece, and that's all you worry about. And when you fold your foundation back like this, all of the fabric can go except the 1/4 inch. If there is a block that has fabric sticking out that you should not cut, it will definitely call your attention to it in the pattern and tell you to fold it back or whatever. Offhand, I can't think of any that we have that are, let's use this one. I was thinking I don't have very many solid colors in here in this block. You can tell some of the strips that have been in the bin for a long time have the raggedy edges. Fortunately, that doesn't matter with the foundation. It's all going to be held in behind the foundation anyway, so it won't ravel anymore. It won't go anywhere. And I just use, for those who are new, I just use a regular length stitch. Whatever you use for your traditional piecing will work for this, because we're leaving this in. Where is it? Okay, so now that it's all covered, like that, we're going to stitch around the edge between the solid line and the broken line. And it's not absolutely necessary, but like, see, this is not attached at all, the fabric and the foundation. So when I go to sew it to another block, I have to worry about making sure that it's laying flat against the fabric. And if it's on the underneath side, you might not notice if it moves or if it's not completely flat or whatever. So I started when I was demoing at quilt shows, and people were handling the blocks as they made them. I'd lay them on the table, and people were handling them, of course, which I want them to do. And So I started doing this just to keep them from, if there was a bias edge or anything, to keep it from stretching. And I realized when I was sewing them all together how nice it was to not have to worry if it was attached or not. So it only takes a minute to do, and it just saves you from having a problem when you're joining your blocks. And a lot of times I make these things and get them, get them partially done, so they are laying in a container or whatever for a while, and when I come back to them, it's nice to have them stitched down like this. I like to get things done fast, but I also like to get things done well. And all these projects I've shown you this week are all bonus projects there. I did not go buy any fabric for any of them, which is awesome. So if you do donation quilts, these all work great for that. Work from your stash. Here's and now we're going to trim around the outside of the block a 1/4 inch from the solid line. And I think we said on Thursday that the dotted line is just slightly less than a 1/4 inch. The only reason I put the broken line on there is that I want to make sure you get your fabrics out that far so you have a full 1/4 inch of fabric in your seam allowance. Okay, so there, these all back so we can start again. There we have it. And now I'm going to join it to this group. I don't know which one of these is going to be my middle. We'll say this one. So I'm going to, let's see, how do I want it? Oh, I don't want that one next to that. How about like that? Or how about, yeah, let's do that. Like that. So I'm going to fold it over right sides together. And I'm going to match this corners. I guess they're not really technically called a corner, but you know that point, whatever. And then I come down here and I pull this seam allowance away. If you watched us last week making hexes, you know you pull your seam allowance away, and then I just make sure, and you can pin it, make sure, put a pin in at that point, and then it goes in right here where the point on the one you're sewing it to, just like that. Those edges match. So then we're going to just stitch from the end of the line right there where I put the pin in. I could get my thread out of the way. Right, take my pin out. The way my flex spin with needles lately. Don't want to sew over a pin, and then just sew on the line. And then, so we have that sewn together. Get that thread out of there. And then I'm just going to pivot this, the one I'm adding. I'm going to match that point right there. And I'm going to pop this side, if I could get my hand on it. Pop that out, so this corner should meet, and you know what? I cut that. I did exactly what I told you not to do. Help if I have the seam ripper in. There. Now, this point meets and this point meets, so now I'm just going to put that in there and stitch down that side. Straighten that out so they all meet. Usually what I do is I'll put the needle down, and then I can get everything lined up where it's supposed to be. And then just stitch. Just stop at the end of the line. This, and I already started the pressing this when I sewed these three together. I've got my seams going in the directions they're supposed to, so this will just continue. Make the circle and pop that where they all come together. Pop that open so it lays nice and flat. And yes, I do use steam. You don't have to. I just feel like I get a flatter seam when I use steam. Flatter seam when I use steam, okay? So there we have 4 of them sewn together. And I've got 3 more to make. If this is my center one, or this could be my center, anyway, I've got 3 to go to make, and then the pattern comes with the pieces to do your strips to fill in, so that you'll have a continuous line around. Anyway, so let's set that one aside, and let me grab my fabrics here for the log cabins. Change my bins. Now, it's really funny. I have been doing log cabins since we started this business. It was one of the original blocks that we did, and I have never written a pattern for any kind of a quilt using the log cabin. We just offer packages of blocks, and want you to use your imagination on how you want to do them. So this time, and because I've always made them from scraps, we do tell you what size to cut all the individual pieces, but I have never done all the math to know how much fabric you need to make a quilt. So this is going to be it. It is still going to be made from scraps, but I am going to be making a very large quilt because I have a ton of these fabrics. So mostly they're the tans and browns, but I'm throwing in a few. There's some dark green, a little rust, maybe a little blue, but in reproduction type fabrics. So they'll all blend, I think, really well. Here I have 3 of them sewn together. And I'm going to give them a quick press because they've been put away for a while. Rolled up, folded up. And then I want to show you how, when you order a package, whether it be a pattern or just blocks. Oh, I just love this. And I have a bunch more blocks here that are already made. Anyway, the blocks come in a long piece with all the blocks printed on it. So you're going to have to cut these apart. And there is room between them. Sometimes they're kind of close. These are close one way. And if you cut a little bit into the line or whatever, it's just a seam allowance. It's not going to make a difference. So don't stress it. We want this to be fun. And these are 6-inch blocks. We have log cabins that go from 2-inch blocks. We have 2-inch, 4, 4.5, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 12. I don't know if we have 10-inch. I will have to look. And then I know we do have some that we call skinny log cabin blocks, and the logs are very narrow on all of them, so that you can blend your fabrics more or whatever. So here is a single block, 6-inch block. I should get my lights a little better. And the packages come with cutting instructions on what size to cut your pieces, but we're working from scraps, so there again today, I am not pre-cutting them. I suppose I could, but I'm just grabbing and stitching, kind of on the fly. And here again, you want to make sure that when you're working on this, you're working on the right side of the foundation, looking through to the wrong side of the fabrics. And now we're going to start this all again. Let me cut a little square for piece number 1. But these are my 1 3/4 inch strips. I'm just going to come back. And we're going to line it up so that we have about 1/4 of an inch of fabric. This is space 1. This is space 2. This is the line where I'm going to sew it on. So I'm going to put a pin back over here, away from where I'm going to be sewing, to hold number 1 in place. And then we're going to turn it over, and we're going to need a little square of fabric for piece number 2. And we're going to put right sides together just like that. And I'm going to put a pin back here away from where I'm sewing. And then we're going to turn it over, and we're going to sew on the line between space 1 and space 2. You don't back stitch because you're going to have a line of stitching crossing over to hold it in place, so it won't, your stitching won't come out. Take your pins out. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is to press. Open that up and press it nice and flat. Okay, so there we have 1 and 2. I don't know if you can see that. I probably should get my lights up a little better. 1 and 2. Now we're going to get ready to add piece number 3. So step number 3, and I think I heard, there's my straight edge, I think. Yep, there's my ruler. We're going to take our straight edge. Some of you asked what the, I was just looking to, this is a straight edge, and we make these. They are cardstock, and then we laminate a fine grit sandpaper on the one side, and it helps keep this from slipping. And you can use it this way and fold it back. That works better for me. And then put your add a quarter up there. If you watch Laura, she puts it down like this and then folds this back. Either way works fine. It's just whatever is more comfortable for you. There's my ruler, my rotary cutter. And trim that little extra away. So now we're ready to add piece number 3. This is space number 3. We're gonna sew number 3 right along that line. And again, I'm gonna not pre-cut to a specific length. I'm just putting it up here and making sure it has at least a 1/4 inch past the end lines of space 3. Now, if you were doing these in a particular order, your colors in a particular order, a particular place, I would recommend pre-cutting your pieces according to the instructions in the package. And then I normally stack the pieces in numerical order with the last piece on the bottom, all face up. And then I'll wrap them inside this. I would take a stack, my stack with the fabrics in order, 1 to 13 or whatever there is in here. And then I'd fold this over and either put a clip on it or fold it again and keep it so it's ready to go to sew. But since I'm just doing this random from the scraps, I don't pre-cut anything. The strips are cut to the right width, so I'm just grabbing it as I'm building it and cutting it that time. And then I'm not measuring it, I'm just laying it out here to make sure I cut it just slightly larger than the space it's going to cover. This is piece number 4. So I had a request for next week to make the twisted log cabin. And of course that one will be a purpose. The fabrics go in a certain order. So I will show you how I do that next week, and we will build, I believe Laura has done a block or 2 on her lives, and now those are for the white with the white background with the turquoise to purple. I don't know what you call it, but it's the twisted part. And I'm going to pull colors this afternoon that are very different, thinking I'm going to make a nice size throw quilt. And it could very well be something in this type of fabric. And then we're going to press it. About a quarter there. I know there's not much to trim, but if you didn't trim it, you'd end up with way too much fabric in your quilt, and you wouldn't know necessarily where to place your next piece of fabric. And if you don't place it right, when you open it up, it just may not cover or give you enough past the, like, if you sewed it, if you match it up here, you sewed it way back here and you opened it up, you might not have enough to go for the next piece. Boy, that's weird. What is that? Kind of a dreary day today here. Boy, it's sure been rough in the middle of the country with the weather. I'm glad we came through when we did. God, I love these fabrics. Okay. My first house quilt. We used Kansas Troubles. Oh, and if you were with us last week when I was making the hexies, I'm doing 1.5, excuse me, too much smoke this morning, 1.5 inch hexies into a flower, and then I was appliquing them onto a background fabric. And I said I was appliquing by hand, and I realized that project was never going to get done. So I sat here yesterday and put the nylon, polyester, whatever, the clear thread in the top on the sewing machine, and a little tiny stitch with every 4th stitch would zag into the hexie fabric. And they're on the wall now, and I don't even remember which two it was that I did. You can't tell. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, because I didn't, the second one, I turned under the edge on the line and pinned it and then pressed it, and then put it on the background fabric, put a few pins in to hold, and it it worked perfect. So I can see that project getting done now. I'm so excited. Okay, this is number 6 that I just did. Number 7's up here. And we're gonna fold that back and trim those edges down. And let's see, what do we want to put next? I have some short pieces here. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Number 7, number 8 is right here. I'm thinking, after finding all those bins with the batik strips that I did from the stash, that I told you I was going to make another pineapple rainbow quilt, but I was going to make it at least 1 block wider and 1 block longer. I'm thinking that would be gorgeous in batik. So, oh, and I was going to tell you the colors that I divide. The way I divide them is obviously blacks, where black is the majority of the color in the fabric. Then I do my neutrals. I do all the grays and all the tans, and the lighter colors that you would consider neutrals, like in this wedding one I'm doing. And then I have red, blue, green, yellow, orange, purple, and turquoise. And then I have one that's for multicolored print fabrics that I can't decide that there's a dominant color that could be used with numerous different colors. So it's quite a few categories, but that's what I found worked best for me. You might want to put all your blues and turquoise together if you don't have a massive stash like I do. That would be much simpler to control. Let's see, what are we going to go with here? I think I'm going to put, ooh, yes. These go pretty fast. I realize they're only 6-inch blocks. But this is one of those long-term projects, because you can keep adding to your stash, and as long as you keep some from what you're working with and then add more to it over a period of time, because I'm constantly adding to mine. I know I have several drawers that need to be gone through of this kind of fabric, these colors. It's sort of for me, these are sort of never ending. These are fabrics I work with a lot. So I need ideas for shows in the following weeks. Like I say, next week is the Twisted Log Cabin. And I'm not sure if the following week, if we're going to be doing the jacket or if it'll be a week after that. And I know at some point I want to do a Lone Star for you. Does anybody have any ideas of what else they might like to see? Ooh, pretty, pretty. And if between times, if I've got several patterns that are new patterns that are in the works, and as soon as they're published, I will introduce them on here. Eleven, 12. And I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the ones I have together into a row as wide as I want the quilt to be. And then I can, after that, I can just make that many blocks and sew, add it to the, and keep adding rows as I go. That way it'll all stay together. Do a little extra long because I think this, yeah, that's a salvage. I ordered a couple of new feet for my machine. I have a table topper all marked. I want to quilt it on this, but I wanted a walking foot for it because so much of it is just going to be straight line stitching. And I ordered 2 different open-toed foots. Hope one of them will be more to my liking for doing this. And when I was doing the applique yesterday, I realized it would have been really nice to have open toe foot so I could really see where my stitches were going. Okay, what are we going to put on here for the last one? How about, oh, look at that, perfect. Now when you're doing the last a row of a line of stitching, and there aren't going to be any more lines any other stitching lines crossing it, we run the seam line all the way out to the broken line. So it'll hold it when you're stitching it to another block. I know if you can see this, it looks pretty messy, but you know, it all goes, I've got it in a smaller basket here. It just all gets dumped back into the big drawer. I'm just stitching between the solid line and the broken line around the outside edge. Okay, and then we're going to trim this down. Oh, that's not 1/4 inch from the solid line, and I know these solid or dotted lines are a little less than 1/4 inch. And that was for spacing for the setup for printing. And there we have it. And this is my row. Where did I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's pretty. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That would make it 60 inches across. If I was making it for a bed quilt, that would be perfect for the top of a queen. Queen mattress is 60 by 80, the top of it. 8 times 6, 48. That would be a good, by the time I add a little bit of a border to it, that would be a nice throw quilt. But do I want to make, I think I might make this a bed quilt. Heaven knows I have enough fabric. It'll take a while, but okay, so I want to make sure that I set these all the same same way, that they have this edge over there, like that. Because in that way, you don't have anything to match. You can just match the ends and sew in the line. Makes it very easy. So if we go, maybe we'll go 12 across. And we'll see how long, because if I end up not making it a bed quilt, but I do 12 down, what's that, 12 times 6, 72 inches long, and then a border, that's a good throw quilt, so that'll give me options. Okay, this one goes this way. So on my hexie, my 1.5 inch hexies that are applique to the background, I have 16 of them done and sewn together, and that only leaves me with like 56 more to go. But now I got it down so they're going faster. Okay, let's see. I just don't want these two. I want these to be different fabrics. My eyes are getting, well, I am getting old. I don't know if any of you have ever seen these glasses for magnifying. It comes with, I believe, 5 or 6 different strengths magnifying, and it has a light in it that you can angle. You can point it to where you're stitching. These have been a lifesaver for me. When I was hand appliquing, it was so awesome. You can actually see the threads of the fabric. So it really helps. And then you just they use a USB. Comes with a cord to charge them. Comes in a nice little case, and I don't just use them for sewing. I use them for a lot of things when I need to see something very tiny, or and I just put them over top of my glasses like that. Looks kind of weird, but boy, I love them. So if you're having trouble, this makes all the difference in the world. Okay, let's see here. There we go. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is number 7. I don't like it. Don't want that like that. That looks good to me. I know, let's do, next week we're going to do Twisted Log Cabin. The week after that we're going to do Double Wedding Ring. I have a new pattern and fabric kits, and we'll do that. And I will post it in my blog and in on the chat group. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll have 10 here. Okay, and I usually press my seams open. When you have the foundation in there, it makes it, it gives it extra strength, so it's not going to pull apart, and it helps alleviate any bulk or a great amount of bulk. So it makes it a little tougher when you're matching, you know, with the seams of the, when you're doing another row, but it's not that difficult. I know when you butt seams up, it makes it a lot easier, but it also makes it bulkier. Yes, this definitely reminds me of a grandma quilt. I have, in my guest bedroom, I have a old iron bed frame, headboard, footboard, all that. So I gravitate to a more traditional quilt on that bed. I don't know, somebody, we live in the country, but I have been hearing music. Somebody's playing music awfully loud. And if the wind's just right or there's no wind, it carries. And we have some neighbors, oh, one more. We have some neighbors who are notorious for having big parties on the weekends and blaring the music. So I have they're on a hilltop about a half a mile away, or maybe, but it carries. Okay, so this is one strip. Yay. That will go up on the design wall, and I'll get busy making more and getting rid of all these threads. Did I freeze up here? So now let's get another one started. Oh, I just love this. I just think I'm excited. I usually play a game with myself when I'm doing these kinds of projects, and that is, okay, if there's 10 in a row there, how long will it take me to make 10 more? And they do say, most all of our blocks do say up in the seam allowance somewhere around there, stitch with this side facing up, fabric underneath. I was going to show you back on this diagonal stripe block. There are 4 of these. These finish at 8 inches. So this is 4 blocks. The package comes with 16. So you have enough, and you don't have to lay them out this way. You can lay them out any way you want. So it'd be that wide, and it'd make a nice square if you want to give it a shot. And if you like what you're doing, you can order more. I always say don't over order. I'm not a very good salesperson. I'm a quilter first, and you know, if you want to buy one package and give it a try, go for it. And if you, like I say, if you like it, you can make a big quilt. Order more to make a big quilt. And if you know, if you're done, you got 16 blocks made, it makes a nice table topper. Or you can arrange them 2 wide, and well, 8 would be 64 inches, but you know, however long you want to make it, you can make a table runner. You can make a bed runner. I have my work clothes on from working out in the field. Okay, gonna start another one. Let's see, what do we want to start with? Fabric piece number 1, wrong side facing up. Set it with about 1/4 of an inch of fabric, going past the line between 1 and 2. Am I freezing up on you guys? My computer. There we go. It's way behind. Anyway, start with fabric piece number 1, wrong side up, put the foundation on top. So stitch with this side facing up, fabric underneath. You want about 1/4 of an inch of fabric to go past the line between space 1 and space 2. Turn it over so the right side of the fabric is facing up. And let's grab a piece. Oh, here's some little, I must have pre-cut some of these, because I'm noticing I have some that, those look like they're cut for the middle. I must have been doing some planning here. Oh, perfect, perfect. Some little pieces, short pieces. Perfect. And you can do that. You can, you know, take your strips and cut for the next row, next 10. That's kind of big. Let's use these. Okay, right sides together. edges close to being even. If it moves a little bit one way or the other, it doesn't matter. We're not relying on perfect edges and perfect 1/4 inch seams. All we care about is sewing on the line. It's the line that gives you the perfection. And as long as you have an 1/8 of an inch or more in your seam allowance, it's perfectly fine. Like I said, the foundation helps give it a little stability and a little bit of extra strength. So it keeps your stitching line from having too much pressure on it, or, you know, when you pull it or whatever. Now we're ready to add getting ready to add number 3. Okay, there it is. Right side facing up. Let's put, oh, we haven't used this fabric at all. Edges even, or they're close to it. So anyway, I need to figure out if I just did 5 of these in a day, because they would go pretty fast. It'd take 2 days to make 1 more row. So in a month, I should have I sew almost every single day. If I don't, I get very grumpy. I won't count today as a day. Okay, number 5. Number 6 is over here. I don't know if everybody's just quiet today or if I turned off chat so I can't see any comments. I think I turned something off, but so if I'm not answering you, I'm not being rude, at least not on purpose. You can see this is going pretty fast. 7. That means we're going to be over halfway with this block already. Oh, let's see. Let's change this up a little bit. Oh, this is pretty blue. Control the mess a little bit. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed our projects this week. I know I certainly have. It's been a little walk down memory lane looking at a lot of these fabrics that I haven't seen in a long, long time. Remembering what I made with them. I think this blue piece is part of our block of the month for the star sampler. Number 8 is next. The star sampler, I've been thinking about, that was the first block of the month I'd ever done. And I think it started with the hardest block of all of them. So I did learn my lesson there on how to plan. And I've been contemplating coming out with a star sampler 2, a little different, and I've designed more stars since then. I know we did stars of the family, but those are a different kind of a star. The star sampler had things like the swirling star, the 8-pointed star, the I can't remember all the names of all the different stars that were in there. The Lemoyne star, and of course we had flying geese and half square triangle blocks. But I was thinking about revisiting some of them and adding some new ones. and coming up with something that looks very different, still beautiful, and again making it into a block of lament. Let's see, I used that one and let's use this one. So I guess my cat has made herself at home here in the shop. She was the one that, she was a salty one to the other cats, but and she was always the very independent one. And she has decided she likes this for home. And she's become very loving, very cuddly. And I like having a cat here in the shop. At least when I'm talking, there's somebody here to listen. Gives me an excuse to not feel funny talking out loud. Ooh, I love this green. This is from Kansas Troubles. Oh, and I think I ran out of bobbin thread. And I got wise yesterday, and I wound a bunch of them. See, I used my, got a stitch on it. I use my little hexy bowl as a catch-all. That's the one made from 1.5 inch hexies. Yes, the other day I had problems with needles. I think I told you guys that I changed the needle on the long arm and I lost the little set screw. And then I came over here and I started on a jelly roll rug, broke a needle on this machine. So I just gathered stuff up and went home, called it a day. And I told Bob, I said, oh my gosh, when I remember when I went to change the needle and I unscrewed the set screw on the end of the little teeny long skinny screwdriver, hex driver, whatever it is, there was like some black fuzz on it, and I thought, oh, I gotta clean this machine. I thought it was lint, so I just kind of took it off and gave it a flick towards the trash can. It was the set screw. And I came home, I went home and I said, oh, how am I ever gonna find that? It's gonna be like looking for a needle in a haystack, literally. And so I came down with a better attitude the next morning, and I got a little hand, you know, little short little hand, like a whisk broom or whatever, and a dustpan, and I started sweeping up and saw this very dark little tiny piece that I thought was fuzz. It was the set screw. I lucked out. I was so happy. And so I got it all put back together. And of course I put it in exactly backwards, so I had to redo it again. And I was very, very careful that time. And came over and put a new needle in this, and I have not sewn on the jelly roll rug yet, or again. I don't know what I did. I know I didn't go over a pin, and I don't know what I did to break it, but guys, I've got 2 pieces, and this block will be done. Yay. What do I want to go with? What haven't we used here? Oh, I'm going to use it because it's the perfect length. Whoops. So I'm thinking when I get all these blocks done, I will write a pattern, and it will have fabric requirements, and I will probably show some different layouts as far as colors with log cabins, how you can do, you know, half one colorway, half another, and do that. I did years and years and years ago. I'll have to dig it out. It's in one of those bins I mentioned. I have a lot of quilt tops in from years ago. I made a big block, kind of like an art quilt rooster, but it was I would say like 80s style. Maybe I did it in the 80s or the 90s, early 90s. You know, but I pieced it like, not a collage, but, and I don't remember if it was raw edge applique, if I turned it under, but it was in the center, and then I did log cabins around it, and I did them different colors diagonally on the blocks, and then it carried on through to the other side. Anyway, I always loved that, and I don't know what I did with it. It's got to be in one of those bins out in the shop that has all those unfinished quilt tops in it. Oh, here's some more I cut. Oh, good. Can't do the green, just did that over there. Let's use this. But oh boy, making log cabin blocks, and I think they were 10 or 12 inch blocks. Talk about frustration, keeping everything straight. I think that's one reason I went to paper piecing. And then of course, when I couldn't find any more suckers to pull the paper out, I developed this. And this was supposed to be strictly for my own personal use. so now I have another one done, and I don't know. My computer's doing funny things to me today. And you know I am not good on technology. Okay, so I will stitch around here. And the thing I do like to do on these shows is go back, or when these projects that I work on for the 3 days of the week, give you ideas. Then as I finish the project, sometimes it'll be the next week, sometimes it'll be the next month. But I do want to bring them back and show them to you, or show them to you in progress. This might be a wild Saturday night here. Some loud music. When they have a party, they usually start around noon and they go till all hours of the night. And let's get this little thing trimmed up. I keep grabbing a little ruler. I was late getting the tomatoes planted because we didn't get home until the first week of April. But I see, and I bought some real tiny, I didn't buy big plants, I bought pretty small plants. And this morning, as I was coming down here, I stopped to check on them, and I have tomatoes on one of my plants already. I may have on the others, but I noticed on the one plant, I have several tomatoes already, so Dad's real happy. And there's another one made. So now we'll have, I will make 5 more tonight. I'm going to force myself to make 5 more of these. So I'll have another half row done. Oh wait, I only put 10 on the row. I only have to make 4 more. And then I'm going to work on the hexes. See if I can't get a few more appliqued, make the square in the middle. I'm working from the center of the quilt out because everything's on point. So right now it's 4 by 4, so I'm hoping that by the time I come on Tuesday that it's at least 5 by 5. And that'll be more than a third of the way to being done, which would be awesome. And what else? I will have we'll be ready to go with the twisted log cabin. And I left the sample with Laura. She's finishing it up. And but there is a pattern for a table topper. There's 16 blocks in the table topper. It's on the website if you want to take a look. Fabric kits will be available later this week. The fabric's coming in, I believe, on Tuesday, so that will be available. I'm going to go in when we're done here and pull fabrics for another colorway and going to make it into a throw size quilt. So we'll be doing that on Tuesday, if you've got any questions or anything you want to see between now and then, um, oh, there's somebody on there. Hi, girls. Um, if you want to see anything special, or if you've got a question and want to see how I do it, if you're making something and either having a problem or haven't started and want a little coaching on it, that's what I'm here for. I want you to enjoy your projects, and if I can make it easier, that's what I want to do. That's my goal in life. So let me know, and if I go over the messages, the chats that come in, and or send me an email and tell me what it is that you either need help with or want to have a little demo on, and I will put it together. And even if it doesn't go with the projects we're working on in that particular week, I'll throw it in as a little extra for you. So and I'll email you back and let you know what day it'll be on. So um, um, anyway, that's what we're gonna do next week is a twisted log cabin. And what did I say? The week after that is going to be, I think we're gonna do the double wedding ring. I got a gorgeous, gorgeous pattern and beautiful, beautiful fabrics. We'll be kitting it, and we'll get going on that. Get you going on that one. And like I say, anything you have a question on, anything, let me know. Oh, and I won't be here Tuesday. We can either move the time to later in the day. I don't want to conflict with Laura, so I think let's just skip Tuesday. Thursday we'll go to the double wedding ring, and we'll get working on that one. And if there's something that comes up, I might post a video you can look at on Tuesday. We might just do that. But other than that, I think that's about it for today. I don't know how many log cabin blocks you want to see me make. Once you've seen one or two, that should show you how to do it, give you all the tips you need. And I did share on how I try to keep my stash in a usable manner, so I don't have to. It does take a little time, but I only do this probably once a year, and I have a ton of fabric because I'm cutting kits for shows and for everything. So I do have a lot of bolt ends, stuff like that. I don't get to sew much for myself personally, but I do have a stash of personal fabrics that when I am cutting and organizing for my scrap system, I will pull some of my personal fabrics that I bought over the years and include those in there, because this scrap system has nothing to do with the business fabrics. I have to keep them. So anyway, this is just this works great, because then when you want to go to make a scrap quilt, everything's ready, and it doesn't take you're not pulling fabrics here there. It keeps you very well organized, at least color wise, and when it makes it easy, you tend to get more done. So I highly recommend it. And I'm always willing to, I'd love to have people share how they do their stash. If you belong to our chat group, we'd love to have you join. And if you already belong, that's awesome. Share some pictures there on how you do your scraps or stash or leftovers or whatever you want to call them. And I'll probably post some pictures on there of mine, just as a little reminder. But anyway, I think that's it. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will see you on Thursday. Don't count on me being here on Tuesday. So we're getting our appointments scheduled. These appointments we've had for a long time, so I can't switch them up before I start doing the shows. So now we know not to do them on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we'll be good to go. But I think this is the last one scheduled during the show day. So we'll get back on track. But anyway, I'll see you all on Thursday, and thanks for joining. Have a great rest of your weekend. I hope you're doing something fun, and I hope you're going to get to do a little bit of stitching somewhere in the weekend. I know I'm going to. So we'll talk to you on Thursday. Take care. Bye-bye.